What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's some of my final thoughts ahead of the Game Week 21 deadline. So I'm going to go through my thoughts on Amorim, talk about a little bit of team news we've had at the time of recording, then go through some of your questions and take a quick look at my team as well. So let's get into it. So let's start with some thoughts on Ruben Amorim and whether it means anything from an FPL point of view. He's now been sacked by Man United. I'm recording this on Monday afternoon. It's going to go live early Tuesday morning. So maybe there'll be a new manager in charge by the time this goes out, but I doubt it. It looks like Darren Fletcher is going to take charge for the Burnley game, then maybe the FA Cup game. Then they're going to get an interim manager in after Fletcher until the end of the season, and then appoint a new successor to Amorim in the summer. So does this really affect things from an FPL point of view? Not really straight away. Like at the end of the day, it's Burnley away. All the players you own, like Cunha, Dorgu, Dalot, etc., are all pretty much going to start this game. I would expect it to be a back four. I don't think it will be a back three, but obviously there's no way to know that for sure. And if it is a back four, it'll probably be Luke Shaw left back, Dalot right back, and then Dorgu playing right wing like he did against Wolves, I believe it was, a few weeks ago. So it's just really a situation where you keep them for Burnley and you probably still sell in game weeks 22, 23. I would not be buying any Man United players this week. I've had a few questions about getting Bruno Fernandes in straight away because Amorim did say that he hopes he could get some minutes against Burnley. I wouldn't bother because even if he gets minutes, it could be off the bench. Then you've got City at home, Arsenal away. Now, if Bruno Fernandes was fully fit and in our teams, I wouldn't sell him before the City-Arsenal games, but I probably wouldn't buy him either. The other thing to say, when a new manager does come in, it's quite likely they won't play the back three system. That would be my guess. It's not that popular formation anyway in the world of football, and it hasn't really worked that well for Man United overall. It's not been, it has been pretty terrible, right? So I think it will be a back four, which I'm almost certain, whichever manager comes in, it'll be Casemiro and Mainu. I think that's just such an easy win with Man United fans to bring Mainu back into the fold. That will be the midfield two. Bruno Fernandes will go and play number 10. Like, Man United signed Cunha and Mbeumo in the summer to play number 10 positions in a back three system. Bruno Fernandes is Man United's best number 10. He will play that. I'm almost certain of that. So from an FPL point of view, longer term, game week 24 onwards, I want to bring Bruno back in. I was already pretty happy with him and my team when he was playing a bit deeper. I'm pretty sure he'll be given a more advanced role behind a striker. And Mbeumo will go and play right wing. What happens to Amad Diallo, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So basically, hold fire with the Man United players you've got for 21. Then probably consider selling them 22 onwards. Then you've got a few games to go under a new manager to see how they set up. And then maybe start buying some Man United players from 24. But realistically, it's mostly going to be Bruno and then possibly one of Cunha or Mbeumo. And that's it. Because defensively, Man United have been terrible. So I wouldn't want to hold on to the likes of Dalot or Dorgu longer term. So in terms of team news, we've only had 2 press conferences at the time we're recording, which is for West Ham and Forest, because they're the only 2 teams playing on Tuesday. Most of the matches are on Wednesday. So you will get a lot of press conferences today once this video has gone out, and any major information from those I'll talk about in the deadline stream later. The only 2 teams we probably won't hear from are Arsenal and Liverpool, because their game is on Thursday. So those press conferences will probably happen on Wednesday, but let's wait and see. For West Ham, Nuno was asked about Todibo and Paquetá. He said, we have to assess both of them. JC and Lucas, so Todibo and Paquetá, they are trying hard to be involved. Painful situations. We still have tomorrow to see how they are and to see if they can be involved in the squad. Now, the fact that he's worded it to see if they can be involved in the squad doesn't sound that positive. Like, just being in the squad could be on the bench. Now, I don't necessarily think that means they've got no chance of starting. That could just be the way he's worded it. But I'm not all that positive. The main player that I'm interested in really is Paquetá. And I do think he's quite important to West Ham. Like, every time he's fit and available and not suspended, he always starts. So if there is a chance he can get into the 11, I think Nuno might take it. Because this is a huge game against Forest. Potentially another relegation candidate. I think if he can get Paquetá in the team, he will. But I don't know how much confidence I can have around him starting based on what Nuno has said. So I think at this point, we've got to assume he's not going to start. Does that mean you should sell him? That depends on your squad. I'm going to talk about my team later. My preference right now is probably not to sell him, because I just think under 6 million, there's no midfielders I'm that excited about. I don't want to make the wrong decision. So I'd rather just hold on to him. And also, if you're like me and you own Paquetá, if he's back after the FA Cup break, like 22 onwards, Spurs away's okay, Sunderland at home's not bad, Chelsea away's pretty bad, but then it's Burnley away, Man United at home, Bournemouth at home. He's still potentially an okay longer-term option. Unless you're absolutely sure which other midfielder you want to bring in, you can just delay the decision. That's ultimately what I will probably lean towards doing. For Forest, Sean Dyche didn't really talk about the injury to John Victor. I looked at the point he made. He was talking about the goalkeepers, Sales and John Victor, but more so about not really having a clear number one, that he's spoken to both goalkeepers. So I'm not sure who's going to be put into the 11 for this game against West Ham. It could be John Victor, it could be Sales. Either way, John Victor is potentially an option on wildcard if you don't want to go for Dubravka. No one, in my opinion, should be using a transfer to buy him right now. And then it was a wait and see on Hudson-Odoi, but I don't think that's really that much relevance to FPL right now. So let's get into some of your questions. And one quick point, actually, I did speak about the likes of Ekatike, my thoughts around him, plus possible replacements, the Voltemada situation, etc. in yesterday's video. So if there's something not covered in this one, it's possible that I spoke about in transfer tips. So make sure to check that out. Who's the best Raya replacement to free up an Arsenal spot? Now, I'll come on to replacements in just a second. I will say, if you are selling Raya to free up a spot for Gabriel, completely get it. If you're doing it to free up a spot for Declan Rice, I also understand it, although I think it's a little bit less important. But again, if you want to do it, absolutely fine. It's also worth mentioning, we don't yet know exactly who's going to double or blank for the rest of the season and exactly when it will happen. But I think, and I could be wrong, but I think the most likely team to double as it stands would be Arsenal around game weeks 26 or 27. That is not guaranteed whatsoever, but it could happen. Now, if there's a double, the games will be quite close together usually. One player that will definitely start both is Raya. More so than maybe a Timber, for example. Like, it could be Timber in one game, Ben White in the other. A lot of it will depend on exactly when it happens, what other games they've got around it. But if you're not in a place where you have to sell Raya, it might be worth keeping him for a little bit longer, just to wait until we get the information about the doubles and blanks. It might be that Arsenal just don't double, in which case just sell him freely. But if you're not desperate to make that move, just keep hold of him. I know the next question will be, when will we find out? I'm not sure yet. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, just something to know. If you are going to sell him, I would probably just go cheap. I wouldn't go to like a Pickford or a Donnarumma. I would go for Kelleher at Brentford or Verbruggen at Brighton. There is also Sanchez to think about at Chelsea. Their upcoming fixtures are pretty nice. And obviously you've got guaranteed minutes with him. But he did miss the last game because he was, or had a little bit of an injury problem. So the minutes are guaranteed if he's fit. So wait and see what he said in the Chelsea press conference. I'm not even sure who's going to take the Chelsea press conference on Tuesday. But hopefully they will be asked about Sanchez. The one problem you've got is they've sacked Maresca and a new manager needs to come in. So there'll be lots of non-injury related questions. So if you get no positive updates about Sanchez, just ignore him. In terms of who's the better pick between Kelleher and Verbruggen, it's super close. If I'm looking at the fixtures, between now and 26, Brentford have got to play Chelsea away, Newcastle away, Arsenal at home. Whereas Brighton's toughest fixture is this week against City away. And if you really didn't want to play Verbruggen, you could just play Dubravka if you've got him on your bench against Man United at home. Then after that, you got Bournemouth at home. This is for Verbruggen. You got Bournemouth at home, Fulham away, Everton at home, Palace at home, Villa away, Brentford away, Forest at home. So the fixtures are quite nice for a little while. Bearing in mind at some point you've got a wild card to play as well. So you could fix your goalkeeper if you're not happy with it. I think I would go for Verbruggen, because I'm not quite sure right now how long you'd have to hold them for. Like, if you look at Brentford's fixtures once they get past the Arsenal game, you've got Brighton at home, Burnley away. Then I think they've got some nice fixtures after that as well. Yeah, Bournemouth away, Wolves at home, Leeds away, Everton at home, Fulham at home, Man United away, West Ham at home. But we're talking at that point down to game week 35. You're almost certainly going to have played your second wildcard before then. So if it was a keeper for the rest of the season, I'd probably lean more towards Kelleher just about. But I think right now I would go Verbruggen. And also anyway, yeah, Brighton's fixtures are a bit dodgy, 29 onwards, I would say. They end the season 36 to 38 really nicely, but that's way too far ahead to be thinking about. So I think I would go Verbruggen. Some people have asked me about the Sunderland goalkeeper, Reece. Look, the fixtures are okay. He's 4.9 million. Now, that's partly because he's just done so well. Like, if you go to goalkeepers, he's the top scoring player with 93 points. I just think Sunderland have overperformed a little bit. They have been good. Don't lynch me. I know Sunderland have been good. But there's a few games I've seen where they've played well, but the stats show they conceded a lot of chances. And at some point, those chances start going in. It won't look quite so good from a defensive point of view. So I think if you want to go for him, sure. But 4.9 million, I would probably go for Verbruggen or Kelleher instead and just save a little bit of money. I know they're far behind in points right now, but that can quickly change. We've had half a season. It can all change again for the second half. I don't think there's really anyone else that I would look at. Like Martinez, Pope, probably not. I think for me, it would be Verbruggen or Kelleher. I feel like there's someone obvious I'm missing, but I don't think there is. Yeah, that would be my choice. Or the alternative, just keep Raya for a bit longer. So who's the best Vandenberg replacement, Collins or Keane? Now, if you've got Vandenberg, it does look like he's lost his place because Ajer has been playing the last couple of games. Vandenberg got injured, Ajer came in, and he's kind of kept his place. Now, at some point, Vandenberg might come back into the 11, but we're not going to know when that is at this point. So I probably would look to sell him, especially if your back three is not looking great right now. Maybe you're playing a back four as well. Collins or Keane? I think it would have to be Collins because I think the boat has been missed to buy Michael Keane now. Like, if you look at the fixtures that Everton have got coming up, they're actually pretty good. And Tarkowski is not a bad option. The problem is we must be getting closer and closer to Branthwaite coming back. I'm not sure whether David Moyes will answer a question about him in his press conference on Tuesday, but let's wait and see what he says because a few weeks ago, it sounded like Branthwaite might start coming back kind of middle to late January. So game week 22, Villa away, is the 18th of January. Game week 23, Leeds at home, is the 26th. Now, Branthwaite's been out for a long time. And he did have a setback, which then kept him out even longer. So I don't think they're just going to throw him in and get him to play every single game. But he will impact Keane's minutes. I do not see Tarkowski coming out of that 11. So I just wouldn't bother now. Like, it's annoying because Keane's quite good for defensive contributions and goal threat. And he's only 4.8 million. But a few weeks ago, you could kind of talk yourself into it. Well, I get the next 4 game weeks guaranteed, then I worry about it afterwards. Well, the fourth game of those matches people were talking about was Wolves at home. So after that, it just becomes a bit dodgier. So I would probably just avoid that now. There's potentially a lot of stuff coming up you're going to need transfers for. Chelsea fixture swing, Bruno coming back, etc. You know, Cole Palmer. I just wouldn't be spending transfers unless you have to. Or let me rephrase that. If you have to spend a transfer, I would make sure to get someone you know is not coming out of the team anytime soon. You don't want to bring Keane in and have to sell him again. So with these particular 2 picks, I think it's got to be Collins. Whether he's a good option or not really depends how much you need to use him. Like, he's very good for defensive contributions, 10.68 per start. He's got a bit of goal threat as well. Not sure how many assists he's going to get, like the one for Thiaw at the weekend, but it was a nice pass. Sunderland at home 21, Forest at home 23, good fixtures. But then it's Chelsea away 22, Villa away 24, Newcastle away 25, Arsenal at home 26. For a defender like that, which is great for defensive contributions, it's not the end of the world if you have to play him in any of those tougher fixtures. But he's not the kind of player you just bring in and just start for the next 6 weeks, ideally. You got 21-23. I wouldn't really want to play him in many of the fixtures outside of that. Now, if he fits in with a rotation for the rest of your defence, great. But you would need to think about that for your own individual teams. Like I spoke about with Kelleher, once you get past the Arsenal game in 26, the fixtures are quite nice. Like 27 onwards, Brighton at home, Burnley away, Bournemouth away, Wolves at home, Leeds away, Everton at home. You could play him in every single one of those, no problem. So it just depends on how many weeks you need to use him. But Collins is a pretty good option for 4.9. Goal threat, defensive contributions for less than 5 million. Decent. So who is the best mid-price midfielder to own long-term? Enzo Fernandez, Bruno G, Rice or Rodgers? Maybe rank them if possible. Now I think the answer here from those four in particular is probably Declan Rice. He just looks like a bit of an all-rounder so far this season. Potential for assists, little bit of goal threat and very good for defensive contributions as well. Absolutely nailed in that Arsenal team as long as he can stay fit, and he generally does. So I think the answer is Rice if we're only looking at it in isolation. Those four players matched up against each other. But like I said on the Transfer Tips video yesterday, you also have to account for the fact there's other good Arsenal picks. So Timber and Gabriel in particular. And if you've got Saka, I still think he's okay until the next time we think there's a chance he gets rested. Personally, I think Saka should be okay for the next 3 to 4 game weeks, as long as Madueke plays all the non-Premier League games like the FA Cup, Champions League, etc. So I think if you've got like Saka, Rice and Gabriel, I wouldn't say that Rice is your best option here, because I don't think using a transfer to sell one of them is worth it. So in that position, I'd probably go Enzo Fernandez, because the fixtures coming up for Chelsea are so good. Like Fulham away this week is not amazing, neither is Palace away in 23, but Brentford at home 22, and then 24 is West Ham at home, Wolves away, Leeds at home. And after that Leeds game in 26, it's also Burnley away. Like the run that Chelsea have, 24 to 27, is just a bit ridiculous. Now, the risk with going with Enzo right now is a new manager is coming in. How will he use him? My bet is he'll either play number 10 or he'll play number 8 alongside Caicedo and be given license to get forward to box crash like he usually does. But I have seen some people speculating that maybe Enzo will be asked to play a little bit deeper for progression. Maybe Caicedo will be allowed to go and press further up. We don't yet know. So if you have to make the decision this week, there is a little bit of concern around Enzo. But I just think his underlying numbers so far this season have been good. Like really good, in fact. And his minutes have been great. And the fixtures coming up are so good. I just think for 6.4 million, how bad can the new manager make Enzo as a pick? He's not someone you should bring in thinking he's going to get returns every single week anyway. I think he just has to be... I just think he will chip in with the fixtures they've got. So in isolation, I think it's Rice, but I think that depends on your Arsenal player situation. If you're sat there with 2 Arsenal players, then by all means get Rice before Enzo. But because of the fixtures, Enzo would be quite high up for me. Between Bruno G and Rodgers, I think Rodgers' attacking threat from open play is just probably going to be slightly better for the rest of the season. And Bruno G does have defensive contributions, which Rodgers doesn't, but he's not particularly amazing for them. He's fine, but he's not as good as like a Rice or an Anderson or someone like that. So I think I would go Rodgers. It is quite close between the two, because Newcastle's short-term fixtures are quite nice, like Leeds at home, Wolves away, Villa at home. But then they do get a bit trickier. Like between 24 and 27, Liverpool away, Spurs away, and City away. Now I know what you're going to say, right? Liverpool away is not that tough. Spurs away is not that tough, but it's still. And I agree, by the way, right? Those two teams have not played particularly well, but it is 3 away games in 4 between 24 and 27. It's not that great. Whereas with Rodgers, the fixtures is just a little bit better for longer. So you've got, okay, Palace away this week's not great. Newcastle away in 23, not great. But after that, outside of that, Everton at home in 22. Then 24 onwards, Brentford at home, Bournemouth away, Brighton at home, Leeds at home, Wolves away. It just looks really nice. So in isolation, Rice, Enzo, Rodgers, Bruno G. Team dependent, maybe Enzo goes ahead of Rice, especially if it's going to cost you 2 transfers to get Rice in. So I've got another defender question here, which maybe I should have just lumped in with the other one when I was talking about Collins and Keane. Who is the best defender to bring in? Thiaw, an Everton defender, or a Man City defender? And I think the person that asked this owns Ruben Dias, so he's looking to move him on potentially to another Man City defender. If I had Núñez or O'Reilly, I would definitely keep them. The next 3 fixtures for Man City are pretty good, but I'm not sure I would bring them in. I mean, long term, you've got slight concerns over O'Reilly's minutes once Aït-Nouri is back. I think Núñez is probably okay right now because of the amount of injuries that Man City have got. But there's already rumours that they might bring Gay, and then maybe at some point someone else could play a match at right back. Like Núñez is clearly first choice and probably not going to lose that spot. There's always slight worries with Man City players. But after the next 3, Spurs away, Liverpool away, we've also got to play Newcastle in 27. It's not a terrible fixture on 26 onwards. There's just that little period after Wolves at home where it's not great either. So I don't think I would buy a Man City player. I'm not sure the upside is enough to go for them. Joao is pretty good. I think Newcastle's fixtures coming up are okay. And at 5.1 million, he's benchable as well. So you can bench him in some of those tougher fixtures. I wouldn't buy Keane, like I've already said. I think Tarkowski is the one, if you can afford it. 5.6 million. He's amazing for defensive contributions. He's on 11.05 per start so far, average. He's got a bit of goal threat. Actually, he's been a bit unlucky not to have scored recently. I think it was Thiaw. This was great for me as a non-Tarkowski owner, and I had Thiaw in the last game week. I think Thiaw cleared a Tarkowski shot off the line, maybe a header or something like that. But he's been a bit unlucky not to have scored. And there's plenty of good fixtures you can play him in coming up. I actually think, sorry, I'll go back to the other graphic. I actually think when you look at the next 6 game weeks, he's playable in all of them. It's not a perfect fixture run. Like Villa away in 22, Brighton away in 24, Fulham away in 25. But he's the kind of player, if you had to play him, it's not an issue. He could easily walk away with a 3 or 4 pointer, even if the clean sheet goes, and he's got some goal threat as well. And Wolves at home 21, Leeds at home 23, and Bournemouth at home in 26 are all potential fixtures he could get a clean sheet. And you never know, he might even nick one on the road as well. And after, let me just double check the fixtures. After that Bournemouth home game, Man United at home, perfectly fine to play him in that. Burnley at home in 29, perfectly fine to play him in that. And at that point, with the tougher fixtures that will come, you're maybe starting to look to move him on anyway. So if you can afford it, I like Tarkowski. I actually think outside of Arsenal defenders, there probably is no one better to bring in right now. Obviously, you've got to factor in money, right? If you don't have 5.6 million to spend, it's a different conversation. But I don't think, like, Gay's being rumoured now to go to City. He probably will play quite a lot, but I wouldn't buy him right now, whether he stays at Palace or not. Munoz, when he comes back, which could be after the FA Cup break, game week 22 onwards, will definitely be worth monitoring. And I do think a Palace defender longer term is okay, but I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to buy them this week. So I think it probably is Tarkowski if you've got that much money to spend. Like Van de Ven, I just wouldn't go there now. Like 22 and 23 are fine, but outside of that, it's a bit dodgy. Maybe Sunderland defenders if you want to go cheap. I think Villa as well are worth looking at. So cash from game week 22, maybe Konza as well. They've got pretty good fixtures. And obviously Chelsea 22 or 24 you could look at too. But I think this week, if you're replacing Ruben Dias or someone in and around that price, Chow is fine. But I'd definitely go for Tarkowski if it didn't impact any other future transfers I wanted to make. So what do you think about changing formation to 4-5-1 or 5-4-1? So basically making 2 of your forward spots really cheap. So I've got Guiu right now, plus Thiago and Haaland. So it would involve selling Thiago down to someone 4.5 million or below. You could argue it wouldn't actually be 2 dead spots, because you could buy Krupi Jr. from Bournemouth, who may get some minutes. And obviously, Mane at Wolves is also getting a good few minutes right now. So it wouldn't be 2 complete dead spots, but I would probably treat it as such. Because with Mane, we can look at it right now and say, well, he's just going to stay in a team and play 80 to 90 minutes every week. But we don't know that for sure. So just consider that, right? You might, in a few weeks, have 2 players that are just basically never going to get any minutes for you. In theory, I think this could work quite nicely. How many times have you heard me say over the last few weeks, there just aren't that many good forwards? Like, there's plenty that are fine, Bowen, Mateta, Ekitike if he's fit, etc. But there's not a huge amount where I'm looking at it thinking, God, I really need 3 forwards right now. I've had 2 for ages. And at no point have I thought about going back to 3. Not for much time. Like, briefly, when Isak got injured, I looked at maybe going 3-4-3, but it was never a serious consideration. So basically, what is the issue with losing 1 more spot? There isn't really that much of a problem. Like, with defensive contributions, midfielders and defenders are just stronger than forwards are. And there's a lot of good value players as well. Like in defence, you could easily have a bunch of decent ones outside of like Gabriel and Timber and Tarkowski that are 5 million or less that you can just rotate around for good fixtures. Now, obviously, if you go 4-5-1, 5-4-1, you're playing the majority of defenders most weeks, but that's okay because they're just such good value and you can pump all your money into midfield. So potentially, like to give you an example for my team, let's say I did Thiago to Mane. Let me just find him here. That would allow me to do Cunha to Cole Palmer. So by going 4-5-1/5-4-1, I've got a midfield of Saka, Szoboszlai, Foden, Palmer, Paquetá. Now, don't pay too much attention to the specific midfielders, right? Szoboszlai could be Enzo Fernandez. I could find some money to get Foden up to Fernandez. But essentially, that would be my midfield. And then my defence is Gabriel, Senesi, Anderson, Van Dijk, Hall. Again, you could switch Raya to a cheaper goalkeeper. You could switch Van Dijk to Timber. You could downgrade Van Dijk to get more money into your midfield. That would look quite nice, just playing Haaland every week. The only slight thing it forces you into is if Haaland gets an injury for like a week, unless you're comfortable playing Mane up front, you basically do not have a forward. And you could get like pushed into having to make a move where you sell Haaland just to buy him back if it's just a short-term injury. But what's the chances that happens? You know? And if you had to play Mane for a week, if he's still getting minutes, it's not the end of the world. And the idea would be that the amount of points you've got in the meantime, it wouldn't matter if you have to make a couple of transfers. I don't know if I'm going to do it. In theory, I think it works. I think it's quite nice. My main worry is we're basing this off what's happened so far, which is fine, right? We've got a whole half season's worth of data now. But I just worry that for most people, it's going to cost 2 or 3 transfers to get to a structure of 4-5-1, 5-4-1 that they like. And if suddenly there's a second forward they want, it's another 2-3 transfers to get them back in. And as much as I think there's not that many good forwards right now, it's still nice to be in a position where you can pivot. I've got Thiago, and he doesn't have that great fixtures coming up, like Chelsea away 22, Newcastle away 25, Arsenal at home 26. But I still kind of like him outside of that. And he's just always there if I need, like, let's say I wanted to go to Mateta. Having Thiago in place just makes it a little bit easier than having to come all the way up from a 4.5 million. I basically don't know if I'm going to gain enough by using transfers to get to this structure. Like, I mean, is Palmer even that good? The fixtures are there, and he just played 90 minutes. Can he continue playing 90 minutes most games? We still don't know. And if push came to shove and I was desperate to get him in, and I kept Thiago, it would just be Saka to Palmer. So I'd have Palmer and Thiago instead of like Palmer and Saka. I don't know. Like, I like Saka. I think he's still a pretty good pick, but I'm not going to captain him most game weeks. So moving to Palmer is fine if I really need him. I don't know. Lots of people are going to talk about this formation switch. I think my short summary would be it's absolutely viable. I don't hate it at all, but I've got a feeling I just will not switch to it. I just think I will go the route that uses fewer transfers, and I'm not sure there's a big enough reason to do it. Now, I reserve the right to change my mind. Next week, you might see me tank the Thiago spot before he plays Chelsea away to get Palmer in, but I'm not convinced I will do it. So what are your thoughts on Joao Pedro for the next few game weeks? I would absolutely not be buying him this week. I think with Enzo Fernandez, there is reason to be positive that his minutes will continue to be good, no matter what. And we know the fixtures are good. So if you need a new midfielder in and around 6.4 million, I think it's okay to buy Enzo and just take a risk that the manager will continue playing him quite a lot. With Joao Pedro, I don't think it is worth the risk. Because as good as Chelsea's fixtures are coming up, the really good ones aren't until 24 onwards. Next 3, Fulham away, Brentford at home, Palace away, is fine, but it's not amazing. And the problem you got with Joao Pedro is he can play 10 and 9, but so can other players. Like, it might be the new manager comes in, it's Santos Caicedo, midfield pivot, Enzo Fernandez plays 10, Palmer goes back to the right, and then it's Joao Pedro or Liam Delap playing that number 9 role. You look at Joao Pedro's last 3 games, and I understand this is under different managers, but 61, 27, 68 minutes, it's just not good enough. 90 before that, 80 before that, then 32, then 90, then 54. Joao Pedro's just not been that good for most of this season, and the minutes are not secure enough to go there. So he would be an absolute avoid. He'd actually be an avoid, yeah. I go as far as to say that. Unless you're 100% positive he's going to play regular minutes, I just wouldn't bother going there. Like, remember that period earlier in the season where he just wouldn't shoot? Like, I just don't think he's a great... No minutes are guaranteed for him. Doesn't have penalties. He may or may not play number 9. He may or may not play number 10. For him, I would wait till game week 24. If you want to go early on Enzo or Palmer, I do think that's a bit more reasonable. because you know they're going to be key players for any Chelsea team that gets put out. I don't think you can say the same about Joao Pedro. It'd be the same with Neto, the same with Esteval, same with Garnacho, etc. So honest question, what will you want to see before bringing Reece James in? At what point are you comfortable with his minutes? The answer, realistically, I'm probably never going to be comfortable with his minutes. Not for the rest of this season anyway. Like, if he started every game between now and the end of the season for like 80 to 90 minutes, then yes, going into next season, if Chelsea have got good fixtures, I might consider it if he's fit after the World Cup. This year, I'm just always going to be sceptical. And that's because I've been burnt so many times in the past. And I do try to not hold on to biases from previous seasons where players have let me down. But this isn't a performance thing. I know how good Reece James is. It's a fitness problem. And to be fair to the guy, he's played a lot of minutes this season and a lot of 90 minutes. So we should be more confident in his fitness moving forward. But it's still not a case where he's starting every game. Like against Bournemouth in Game Week 19, he didn't start. Game Week 14, midweek, didn't start. 30 minutes against Wolves in Game Week 11 after 90 minutes the week before. And by the way, at this point, he'd played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 90 minutes in a row, but then he still got benched. And then he only played 45 minutes against Burnley. I just would be too concerned about that. And look, Reece James, from an attacking point of view, can be excellent. And there's a world where he only starts 4 or 5 of the next 6 and beats every other defender. But we're playing on probabilities, and the likelihood is that he doesn't outscore those defenders unless he plays all the matches. And so I just won't risk it. And this season, we've got defensive contributions as well. So there's even less reason to risk players like Reece James. So look, we're going to speak about this a lot over the next few weeks. Those fixtures between 24 and 27 are excellent. Reece James could do amazing. But will he start all 4? You've got to keep in mind that Chelsea have got a lot of other fixtures to play as well. Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup. Reece James ain't going to start all of them. And it might be some of the easier Premier League games that he misses. It's just not worth it for me. I might not go for any Chelsea defenders. And if I do, based on what we know so far, it'll be Chalobah. But even in that case, I need to see who the new manager prefers. We know Reece James will play a lot, right? He's brilliant. One of Chelsea's best players. Is it going to be enough? I don't think so. I just don't think I'll be comfortable with the minutes. I know as soon as I bring Reece James in, every single week I'm worried about him. It doesn't matter. He could play game weeks. Let's say I bring him in this week and he plays 21 to 24. Game week 25, I'm going to be wondering if he starts. If he starts 25, I'm going to be wondering if he starts in 26. I just don't think he's that good to worry about. I've already got Lewis Hall, and I don't want to keep bashing Lewis Hall because I think he's not a bad pick. But I'm already worried about him quite a lot. Way more than I would be if I just bought a centre-back, even from a different team. That's why I like Tarkowski, for example. You just bring him in and don't ever have to worry about him unless he picks up an injury. With Reece James, it's not that. He may stay fit but still miss minutes. So, yeah, I've just been burnt so many times. And if you've played FPL for the last 5, 10 years plus, you will have also been burnt by Reece James. I just can't go back. So I'm just going to quickly go through some final thoughts for my own team. I got 2 free transfers this week and 0.1 million in the bank. At the back, Raya and Gabriel double up. More than happy with that for now. I fully appreciate there are cheaper goalkeepers out there doing better than Raya, but I do not want to spend 2 transfers right now moving Arsenal players around. So I'm just going to keep Raya, and obviously Gabriel is just great. Senesi against Spurs at home. He's playing ahead of Van Dijk, who's on my bench. Van Dijk's got Burnley at home in 22, so I will just keep him for that week, then decide what to do later. Lewis Hall should be fine. Like, he came off after 62 minutes against Palace in game week 20, but it didn't look injury related. I'll wait and see what Eddie Howe says in the press conference, but I think that was just precautionary. Livramento was back. Give him some minutes as well. I'm fairly confident Lewis Hall will start against Leeds. The Wolves game is after Newcastle play both Carabao Cup and FA Cup. So I have to make an assessment in game week 22 whether Lewis Hall will start that game. I think once I get past 22, he's probably going to have to go. There's just too much concern there, and the fixtures do get a little bit dodgier for the most part as well. But for this week, he stays. Szoboszlai, I'm not happy about him this week. I'm not sure I'm that happy about him as a pick in general. But until Salah's back, he's nailed on and on penalties and should mostly play over on the right wing or kind of number 10. So is he going to get me any returns? I don't know. But at his price, 6.6 and below, I don't know if there's a huge amount of standout options. So I'm kind of okay with him at the moment. And I think general thoughts about my team. I'm not quite sure what I want to do in future weeks. And because of that, I'd rather sit still and make a decision later. So take Enzo Fernandez, who I've mentioned quite a few times in this video. I probably will buy him. I think I'm more likely to go Enzo Palmer and just leave Guiu and not go for a defender. But who do I bring in? Or sorry, who do I take out for Enzo? Is it Cunha after he plays Burnley? Is it Szoboszlai, but he's got Burnley next week? Do I find the money to go from Paquetá to Enzo? I'm not quite sure, because whatever one of those decisions I make has a knock-on effect to what I do later on. So I kind of just want to leave it as long as possible. I accept that my team doesn't look great this week. 3 Arsenal home to Liverpool, Szoboszlai away to Arsenal. And if Paquetá misses out, it's Anderson against Chelsea at home. It's not great, but if I can get through this week with minimal damage, so like a small red arrow, 3 free transfers in 22, my Liverpool players playing against Burnley, my Arsenal players good longer term, I'll be in a much better position. So I don't think my team is terrible this week, especially if Paquetá plays. I think outside of Liverpool and Arsenal, there's actually quite a few good fixtures. But it does also feel a little bit like damage limitation. I'm kind of okay with that. Not every week's going to be perfect. So Szoboszlai, if you want to tell me he's not a great pick, I wouldn't argue with you. But it is Burnley at home in 22. Nailed on penalty taker for 90 minutes against Burnley at home. I'll take that. Paquetá, I don't know what to do. My gut feeling right now, and I'm recording this late afternoon, early evening on Monday, is I just play him and hope for the best. I do understand that from what Nuno said, there is every chance Paquetá's just on the bench at best. He could just be out of the squad again. But I feel like I want to risk it. I don't know. Like Anderson, because of defensive contributions, there's less need to take the risk. Like I could just play 4-4-2 and that would be fine. But I'm quite tempted to play Paquetá if we don't hear anything else. I just think Nuno needs a win. West Ham desperate for a win. Paquetá helps you with that. I know West Ham fans are not happy with him, but I do believe they're better with him in the team than without. All right, we saw that against Wolves. It wasn't great. I don't know if Paquetá would have stopped that, but I think he does improve West Ham versus not having him at all. So I think they will try and get him in if they can. So I'm kind of willing to risk it. I think I'm leaning against selling him. I'm not going to use 2 transfers, so I'm not going to find the money to get Enzo. I don't think that's worth it. If I do sell, because I didn't talk about Paquetá replacements earlier, if I do sell him, I've got 6 million or below. For me, it's Tavernier, who should be nailed on for Bournemouth. Pretty good minutes, not bad underlying stats, quite good fixtures, 5.6. Or Anderson, who's only 5.3. Really good for Defcons, might get you the odd attack and return. Or Lefay maybe, and just completely tank that spot in terms of money, 4.9 million. I think that's the 3 main players I'm looking at. Like Harry Wilson's not bad either, but I don't know. I'm not sure about which one I want, and so I don't know if I should bother deciding this week. Like when I brought Paquetá in, I wasn't even completely happy about him, but I was at a point where I had multiple transfers and so many problems. I had to get someone in for cover, and getting a nailed-on penalty taker was just always not a bad decision. But now I'm not sure about his replacement, so I want to put the decision off. Also, by the way, if I get to next week with 3 free transfers, Cunha will have Man City at home, Arsenal away. Let's say I do Cunha to Enzo. That gives me 7.6 million to spend on a Paquetá replacement. So it does open up a few more options. Now, exactly who I would go for, I don't know. But let's say Harvey Barnes was to get injured. Well, all of a sudden, Gordon would have Wolves away, followed by Villa at home. Maybe I go and get Anthony Gordon. Or maybe I just get Bruno Guimaraes and take all his points instead. So something's telling me to just get through this week, take almost damage limitation, or hope for damage limitation, and just see what happens. Worst case scenario, Paquetá comes off the bench or Anderson subs in. It's not the end of the world. Haaland's my captain. That will definitely stick. And Thiago's going nowhere with Sunderland at home. What I do with Thiago longer term, I don't know that either. And because I don't know what I want to do, like, does Saka become Palmer? Do I try and get Palmer instead of Saka? Do I sell Cunha for Man City at home, or do I keep him one more week? Do I want Enzo? Do I want Palmer? Do I want both? Do I need a defender? There's so many things to think about. And because I'm not sure, what helps you the most with all those decisions longer term? Transfers. And so I'm just going to stick. I do not see me selling Paquetá as it stands. I might think of something amazing by tomorrow, by the deadline, and things might change, and I might sell Paquetá to Tavernier or Anderson, whoever it might be, because I'll still have 2 transfers in 22. And I think the most likely outcome for me is I will wait until 24 for Palmer. I want more data about how many minutes he's going to play with all the Chelsea fixtures, but it's still nicer to have 3 next week than 2. And by the way, if Tavernier or Anderson are these amazing picks, I can just buy them next week. I could just do Paquetá to Tavernier in game week 22 and just roll my other 2 transfers if I want to. So I think I'm just going to roll it as it is with Paquetá in the 11 and just hope for the best. The only change I see me making tomorrow is just to play Anderson and not risk Paquetá. That's it. And I get to keep Van Dijk for Burnley at home in game week 22. Happy days. I'll leave that there. Make sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button. I'll be back at 4:30 p.m. UK time on YouTube for a deadline stream. I'll catch you then.